All right, you're welcome back. Of course, it's still TVC Breakfast. Now let's hear what residents of Sokoto and Nasarawa states have to say about the 30,000 naira minimum wage approved by the House of Representatives.
Compilation of 18,000 minimum wage in the country is not yet implemented by some governors. But the government of the day and the governors are of the view they are here to make change in respect of their parties. So the argument shouldn't arise. Looking at the price and the conditions servant, most especially the labor unions, when the labor want to agitate for the fuel increment, the federal government and the state governors promise us that the minimum wage will be fully implemented by us. There was no agitation, there was no rally when the price of fuel was taken from 87 naira to 145 naira.
All the difficulties that the civil servants are, we need at least 30,000, nothing less than 30,000. Of course, if you see the hardship of the commodities in the market, so definitely 27,000 is not enough for the civil servant. Even the 30,000, we need more, but at least let's have the 30,000, not 27,000.
That is how it should be. It can, yeah, this is the right time that we can say it can be a uniform salary scale for both public and private sector, and also for both federal and state civil servants. But for the other states, I know due to the reasons unknown to them that they may not be able to pay the 30,000, they will go for 27,000. I think is not appropriate. They should work with that 30,000 that the federal government and also the other state government are willing to pay when it has been passed into the law. I think there's a right time to have a uniform salary scale for 30,000 for both state civil servants and also the federal civil servant, including the private sector.
What we expect in Senate climes, once you set up a committee and the committee took time to get memoranda from the public and they agreed on 30,000 naira, you would have expected that very same government to make it legally binding on them. So all this dilly-dilly going back and forth, trying to now say it's 27,000 naira what have you, shouldn't really have arisen. But you need to understand something. Even in his welcoming address, the speaker, the honorable speaker, Yakubu Dogara, was like, what the workers deserve is a living wage and not even minimum wage. Even the 30,000 naira, my brother, you know, it's not so much.
I don't know why the federal government was dragging his feet when it comes to this particular issue. It's very disheartening, I must say. But when it comes to the issue of maybe sacking the CGN and stuff like that, the federal government will take a very hasty decision. But this is very, very bad. And then I commend the House of Representatives under the leadership of Yakubu Dogara for finding it worthy to make the Nigerian workers smile. It's a very good development.
Well, the 30,000 naira minimum wage that has just been passed by the House of Reps is a welcome development. It's not as if the federal government doesn't have the wherewithal with which to implement that. Of course they do. So, in a nutshell, I advise that federal government should not only implement the 30,000 naira minimum wage, but they should see to it that it keeps coming in as promised.
All right, you heard from Nigerians there, first in Sokoto and then, of course, Nasarawa state there. We have joining us at this time a human resources consultant and member, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, Adeyemi Ajayi. Good morning and thanks for joining us. You listened to the views of Nigerians there. What do you have to say? What stood out for you in that, in their contributions, or observations?
Yeah, that is to tell you the level of awareness when it comes to this matter. It's a national issue. Yeah, everyone is concerned, private, public, and everyone, all the stakeholders. That goes to tell you that people are interested in their own welfare this time around. You know, it has gone beyond what an individual can take decision over people. They want to contribute to what comes to them, not someone deciding for everyone. You know, and that tells you that people are under pressure financially, for everyone to have that opinion shifted, to 30,000 naira. It tells you that the requirement financially is of utmost importance to everyone. So for everyone, airing their opinion, It just tells you that the government has to listen.
And is the government listening? That's a fundamental question. Now, well, in approving the 30,000 naira minimum wage by the House of Reps, the Speaker, Yakubu Dogara, did admit that, yes, there's economic downturn and government's revenue is dwindling. The economic indices show that even 30,000 naira is not enough. He's even, advocating for living wage. Now, with this approval by the House of Reps, you have, on the other hand, the governors who are saying 27,000 or nothing. We really cannot afford 30,000. That, as a matter of fact, it's only Lagos State that can afford 30,000 naira minimum wage. What do you think is going to happen then?
Yeah, you see, one of the things we should think about is the future. The outlook for the next 1 year in terms of economy is not really that fantastic, not that good. But what will happen from here should be the aftermath effect that we should be concerned about. WABA, that is the NLC president, is concerned about minimum wage rise and all that. But remember, some other things will react to this. Like inflations will react to this, you know, and this has been the concern. Now, that should tell government that the major problem really will go beyond the 30,000 naira. There should be other palliative measures. Because if you give me 30,000 naira, and what I'm buying for 1 naira turns to 5 naira, I lose value for that money. That is the truth. So now, with House of Rep, you know, approving this 30,000 naira, it's a welcome development. And one of the things that NLC is putting forward is that every 4 years, there should be a review. I was opportune to present a memorandum, a paper, to the committee, the tripartite committee set up by federal government. And in one of those discussions, some of the things that played out is what are the palliative measures that you should be thinking about, like easing transport, you know, medical care for workers, people. If you're giving them so much, like, don't let me call it so much, let me say so little, the living wage, some things that will react to it will definitely take the values away from that money within a short time, and that will bring us back to the table.
Okay, just we asked that you hold your thoughts a little bit. Let's go to Nasarawa and Sokoto, I beg your pardon, yeah, Sokoto states, and let's head over to the nation's capital now and find out what Abuja residents also saying about the passenger with 30,000. Abuja residents also saying about the passenger with 30,000 naira wage bill.
We always say in this adage that half bread is far better than none. So it's a welcome development. It's a welcome development. If they had refused to pass it, heaven would not have fallen. So by passing it is a welcome development any day, anytime.
From the look of things, government does not have the interest of the masses at heart. If they do, this the scenario shouldn't have come to this stage, that to the extent that people have to protest for them to be able to realize that this 30,000 or 27,000, which they call, should have been approved for a long time. So I think they don't have the masses at heart.
This is a good step to the right direction. Before now, there were a lot of hiccups here and there. I wonder why it was so difficult for the authorities to do the needful. This is what they're supposed to do long time ago. And we are expecting that soon as we should still be moving ahead, not just 30,000 minimum wage. Other countries have way over 50, 70. In fact, countries that are even less than that in terms of financial capacity, they are less than Nigeria, but yet they are collecting way above 50,000. So we should be happy that at least we're taking a step forward, and we should work towards increasing it soonest.
All right, TVC News National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa joins us on phone from Abuja. Good morning, Joke. Well, a lot of people have described this development as a piece of good news for Nigerians. But tell us exactly, you know, what went on at the House of Reps yesterday at the public hearing. What are the high points beyond the approval of the 30,000 naira?
Well, the high point of it for me, that yesterday, what we saw, was that for the lawmakers, it was a mission accomplished. You also see that it is the first time in the history of the National Assembly that a bill will be given that speedy consideration and passage. So it took them just 6 days. They received it on last week Thursday, and by yesterday, which was Tuesday, they were done with it. So for me, the high point really was for the lawmakers that they were able to do that. And if the Senate too had followed the same path, I'm very sure that it would just be a case of walking around it and making sure that it's on Mr. President's table soon. So, but by and large, it was one thing that also came up there yesterday was the fact that they said for now they will leave it at 5 years, and that subsequently the goal is to see that they have a seamless process of ensuring that minimum wage is reviewed as at when. But the argument of Labour also is that 5 years is rather long for the wage to be reviewed. So they are also thinking, and I spoke with some lawmakers yesterday, and they said moving forward it's work in progress. That maybe after now they want to see that is reviewed, maybe to 2 years, maybe to 3 years. So basically, for the lawmakers, they beat their chest that yes, we have accomplished this, and they have given Nigerian workers cause to smile.
All right. What else are you hearing? The governors, of course, were not really happy about that because they insisted on the 27,000 naira. What else are you hearing from their circle?
Yes, from the governors' forum, from the governors' circle, they have said it that, of course, the chairman of the forum came that day to say that they are not against 30,000 naira. Left to them, they will pay and even add more. But what they are saying is that with what they have now, with what they collect from the federation account, they may not be able to afford that. But the argument has also been that they should also think outside the box. They should also look for ways of generating revenues that they will be able to attain that goal. So, and even from what we saw yesterday, the lawmakers said they are ready to also begin to review the revenue sharing formula as enshrined in the Constitution, that it is overdue, it is long overdue for review, and that as soon as the ninth National Assembly comes in, that will be the first assignment that they will take on.
That's interesting to know, but of course the bill has been referred to the House Appropriation Committee and other related subcommittees for further action. How soon do we expect it to go through the House Appropriation before it gets back to the President? Because the reps have also resolved that the bill would be effective the day it is assented to by the President.
Yes, the bill will become law once the very date is assented to. But let me also say that here that the bill is not going through any other legislative work as far as the House of Reps is concerned. And what is next now is they are waiting for the Senate to go through the same process, come up with their figure. If their figure does not reflect what the House of Reps have done, what the next step is now to set up a conference committee that will now look at it and have a harmonized figure. So once that is done, they dot the T's and cross. They dot the I's and cross the T's, and now send it to Mr. President for his signature for him to assent to it. So for now, the House of Reps is done as far as the minimum wage is concerned. So all they wait for now is for the Senate to also do the same. They harmonize it if there's need for it, and they send it to Mr. President for his assent.
All right, correspondent Joke Adesa there, of course, giving us further details vis-a-vis the public hearing on the minimum wage that took place yesterday.
Of course, Adeyemi Ajayi is still very much with us.
HR consultant. Yes. Well, you talked about inflation and the reactions that will follow the implementation of the minimum wage, 30,000 and all of that. And I just want to ask, not too long ago, South Africa here, don't forget that we have been the giants of Africa. Therefore, we should, lead the way. South Africa here increased their wage as well. In Naira figure is 126,000 Naira or so. Now, do you think that they also didn't think about these effects that you just talked about now, inflationary effects, before they also did that?
Okay, thank you. South Africa is different from Nigeria. They have infrastructure, they have institutions, they have systems that take care of their people, you know. So if they're increasing it to 126,000, you know, for them in South Africa, if you're a civil servant, you know, so to say, you have access to health care, you have access to a few other things, you know, that will benefit you from the government, their own government. Now, we don't have that in Nigeria. So even if today we benchmark with South Africa, paying the same amount, we're still a bit back in terms of other benefits that go to workers. Now, moving away from there, it tells you that we're not serious in this country about
that's the point I wanted you to make.
Yeah.
Why do we not provide infrastructure development? Why do we not do all of that to ensure that the people get living wage rather than minimum wage?
We don't have the right people in the right place thinking about the right thing. Because we should think about these things. For instance, if you're getting 30,000 Naira, if you go to some of these schools, some of the civil servants take their children to private schools. How much do they pay? Some pay rent, some pay for transport, some pay for feeding. You know, inflation just dropped, you know, to about 11%. And I can tell you for a fact that if we look at it based on the outlook, we're going to 13% this year. Now, if that reacts, and if the minimum wage is implemented, it may shot a bit up by like 100 basis points, tilting towards 14%. That tells you that the cost of living will go up, even with the minimum wage going up. So things will balance and will come back to the same bottom.
So that will just erase whatever gains.
Shouldn't we come up with, you know, perhaps price control to ensure that, you know,
we're in a free market. Who controls the price? Who controls the price?
Okay, now let's talk about, you know, well, some kind of loophole. That's what I think it is, you know, with the reps saying that employers of less than 25 people, you know, will be excluded from paying the new minimum wage. Don't you think this is a loophole that employers can actually take advantage of? Because one of the issues raised by the man actually who heads the technical committee that was set up by the president, Rewani himself, he actually raised the concerns about unemployment, you know, that could follow new minimum wage.
Okay. You see, I don't know the basis of arriving at that, you know, statement or whatever proposition they're making. I think it's baseless, in my own opinion, saying that if you have less than 25 people, you may be exempted. It doesn't hold water. It doesn't have basis. Now, that is to tell you that people will take advantage of that and not comply with the minimum wage. But let us look at the flip side of it. The cost of doing business in Nigeria is growing. It's increasing. And a lot of business owners... It's high. It's getting higher. A lot of business owners are shutting their businesses, and some are running on a lean, you know, business process. I mean, on a lean budget for their businesses. Now, that tells you that if you bring this on board, it will be additional burden for them, you know. But this loophole is what a lot of people will want to pass through. We want to take advantage of to not comply.
And how many Nigerians really employ more than 25? How many Nigerian companies really?
Really, yeah. If you look at the number of people who even employ less than 25, they are much more in numbers. In numbers, more than those that employ more than that, because we're growing our SMEs market. We're growing that, you know, faster than we can think, because a lot of people are coming into this space, and some of them want to even run lean business, you know, structure. So that will not make them to hire so many people.
And you know, the leader of the House of Representatives, Dogara, during his presentation, said something, you know, very important. That look, if we, I mean, that even 30,000 is not even enough.
Absolutely.
And if you don't pay well, it's a precursor to corruption.
Absolutely.
doesn't that resonate well with you?
Yeah, you see, if you don't pay an employee well, let's take it both private and public now, they will look for ways to take care of themselves.
Yes.
They either steal your time or they steal your money. Or they steal both.
Or both.
Yeah.
In many cases.
So those are the three options they have. So that goes into corruption. That goes into someone trying to collect bribe from you because you need a document from government and all that. Morally, it's not good. But if you look at the surrounding, activities and things, you will not justify the wrong thing, but that person doing that will want to justify his action.
Yeah.
Because the take home is not really take out. It's not even taking you out of where
somebody
you
said,
are.
it won't even take you to the bus stop. Not talk of taking you home.
Right.
Meanwhile, the government has said any state that can pay more than 30,000 naira should feel free to do that. So you think states like Lagos, maybe Rivers, and a few other states can actually handle more than 30,000?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something that I believe that the governments can do. Is the time, or is the right time now to start thinking of how to generate, revenue internally? There are a few states in Nigeria that should be able to generate their own money. I was having a discussion with someone. I'm from Ekiti State. I had a discussion with someone from Ekiti State, and I told this person, I said Ekiti State can generate a very good money. We have some mineral resources there, and if you look across,
and the tourism potential.
We can generate. They should start thinking of how to generate their own.
All right.
At this time.
Yeah, that's very critical, and that's what Nigerians have been saying. Well, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi, HR consultant, and also a member, Chartered Institute of